Welcome back to the show. Today, I got with me a good friend of mine. Tell everybody who you are and what it is you're up to right now.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Joe Scicutella. I've known Mike for quite a number of years now, but just starting into the entrepreneurial world, kind of new year, new me. So got a lot going on, a lot to talk about. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, what's your new venture called? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now, it's called Swing IQ. So really, what it is I want to be able to bring expert level coaching to everybody, make it affordable and accessible to everybody and anybody. Basically having an elite level coach in your pocket is kind of what I'm going for.
What kind of swinging are we talking about? Are we talking about swinging with the wife? Are we talking about
We're
baseball
talking about
swinging?
golf swinging, golf swings.
Okay, interesting. So, and what were you doing before you decided to do this?
So I'm still doing what I was doing. I've always kind of been in logistics work, mostly management. I'm kind of just doing some inventory coordinating right now, working for a project for Johnson and Johnson. But
Okay.
that's kind of just filling the bills while I pursue what I want to do.
Yeah, and you've been doing that a while, you said?
Yeah, I've been doing this job at Johnson& Johnson for like a year and
Yeah.
a half now.
Okay. All right. So not like it's not a 20-year career here, but
No, 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 no.
you've been
But
doing it a
in
while. Yeah.
logistics for the better part of 15 years.
Okay. So you're in logistics for like 15 years. It's obviously paying the bills, got a couple kids, got a wife, you got, all things are covered there. And then something kind of starts knocking at your door there to go chase this other passion. So how did that happen? What was the reason for that?
Yeah, so I have a buddy of mine, a good friend that I've known since I'm a teenager that is a serial entrepreneur, really enjoys the process of starting businesses and um, the whole thing. And he's always been kind of like checking in on me, throughout the years, hey, what's new, what's going on? We'd always touch base. And he'd always tell me about, what he was doing, his ventures. So I kind of dabbled in it and learned a little bit through him. And then, a couple of years ago, I got let go from what I thought was going to be a career job for me. I was working for UPS for 5 years. I was in their management. Um, you know, thought I was going to kind of ride that out until, I retired. I was in a solid company, a good position, able to take care of my family and do the things that I kind of wanted to do. And then kind of had the floor kind of dragged out or dropped out from below me. And then I kind of needed to figure out what I was going to do from that point on. So, touching base with my buddy, got me back into that entrepreneurial mindset of like, I need to take care of myself because you never know what's kind of going to happen. You know what I mean?
Well, I know what you mean. Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
If
It,
anybody knows, I know. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It's like, it's a scary situation. And, you know, I kind of decided to take that head on and kind of dabbled in a bunch of different business ventures that, I didn't really see through, but it was just kind of getting my foot in the door. It started with cleaning. It started with, I did cleaning first, then I did, what was going to be a marketing business. And now, onto AI golf swing and analyzer. You know what I mean? So it's like, you never know what road you're going to stumble upon when you start this path, but I am very excited about it. And it's this new year has been, you know, like a wake up call for me in a lot of different ways.
So the like the time period where you're going from the cleaning thing and like explain that a little bit too. The cleaning thing to the marketing to what's the time frame we're talking about? This is all like very recent, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, this was all within a span of like the time that I've been working at this position that I've been in, probably a year and a half. That's how long I've been out of UPS now. So yeah, and then for a better part, it's actually probably less than that because honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. For a better part of that first 6 months that I was out of work, I really didn't do much. It was kind of like a shock. Honestly, I kind of just didn't really know what I wanted to do, where I was kind of going. I was just kind of, paying the bills and just getting by day by day, but I mean, there's a lot of things that happened in between there too. A lot of good things. It's crazy because, also in the beginning of that time period, I also had my son was born. He's 11 months old now, almost a year old. So like there was a lot of crazy things happening in my life at that point in time that like really I think was the wake up call. Losing the position, having the baby, buying a house, not that long ago, only 2 years ago. So it's like a lot of big things happened in my life, and then a lot of big things were taken away from my life. And then I was like, I really needed to figure it out.
Yeah. What was the reason that the previous job had ended so abrupt? It was like pretty abrupt, or
It was basically 29 days worth of notice, but
yeah.
it was more so they call it, considered corporate restructuring. So, you kind of bite that bullet and, you know, ride that train. So
So it was
I
just
was,
like a downsizing layoff situation
yeah,
for you.
basically the position that I was put into no longer existed with the company.
But
Is
that's always nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I mean, it's how easy is it for just to be cut off a position? How do you determine which position it is? Because that's a position that countless people have. And I even, was it by seniority? Was it by performance? You don't really know. Just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh well, that rec doesn't exist. So okay.
Yeah. I feel like this is kind of like what Doge is doing right now. It's like there's a lot of positions that guess what? They don't exist anymore
Yeah,
because we're cutting spending, right? We are finding out like as huge as UPS is, they're a huge company, but they still have profit margins, right? And I don't know what those are, so it's not like I could speak to how much profit is too much profit there, but they have a business to run. And just like you're going to be running your new business, I run my business, there is a profit margin. I have to make a certain amount of money to keep the lights on here. And if that's
absolutely.
not happening, I got to start looking at, well, what's going on? If I
Yeah.
can't bring more money in, I got to stop money from going out. And that's usually, I think, what happens in most cases. You start looking at the spending because that's easier to cut. It's easier to cut spending than to just make money magically appear out of thin air and say, yeah, I'll just make more money. Like, yeah, easier said than done. Yeah.
You
Because
know
if
what I
it's
mean?
that easy, I wouldn't have to cut any spending. So, yeah. So you get your spot kind of gets axed out. And are you already thinking how long between there and then starting the J&J?
Um, so I was cut in September, the end of September, and then I started J&J June,
Okay.
around June.
So you were off for
So
quite a
like
while.
9 months roughly.
Yeah. So what was going on with you mentally, in that time period there?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like I said, a lot of things were going on, with the baby. I spent a lot of time, that I am thankful for that I got to spend a lot of time, really being with him and, as a baby and being there, every day was great. Um, but, there's other, not working for 6 months was kind of like, a wake up call. I actually started doing Uber at one point, which is just a good viable option to do when you got nothing. You got a car, you got a license, and you pass a background check, you're good to go. So I was doing that for a while to make sure I was making some money, and then I got a call from J&J, and it's funny because everything kind of really happens for a reason. You know what I mean? Because I got the call about the J&J, and at first I wasn't really sure about it. I wasn't sure that's what I wanted to do. I was like trying to do this entrepreneurial thing, but it wasn't really going anywhere at that point in time. I decided to take the interview, but really not invest too much of my hope into it because I wasn't sure and it wasn't really what I wanted to do. Then I did the interview and I absolutely killed it. And I got off the interview. I told my wife, I said, I definitely got that job. I don't know if I want to take it, but I know I got offered that position. And, it was nice having that to fall back on because it ended up being one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It really is. They treat me very well. Um, I've the ability to be there for my family when I need to be, and still work on this business venture that I'm doing. So when you look back in hindsight, you're like, wow, something that I was completely ready to pass up and toss up, like, screw that, I don't want to do that. It's not what I want to do. Ends up being what allows you to live the way that you are right now and pursue the things that you're pursuing right now, which was really cool. You know what I mean? It's like I said, this whole new year, I've been kind of changing my whole mindset and like getting into like reading again and learning again, because for a while think I forgot that I can still learn new things. You know what I mean? You just get into a routine,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, I think that's what most people are doing. They're just kind of getting up, brushing their teeth, hopefully, putting one one foot in the pant leg, one at a time, and then going through the routine. And before you know it, the day is over, and you're just like counting the days until Friday. And then before you know it, it's Monday again. And then you're counting the days into the weekend. And it's just constantly. And I was doing that for, 13 years in the pharmaceutical company before I got, when I lost that job. But your story really resonates with me because I know what it feels like to, like, pretty abruptly, 29 days is not, it's not like a long time to prepare for being the provider in your household, kid on the way, if not already born, just bought a house. Like, there's a lot of pressure there, as a man, as a husband, as a father of the house, the man of the house, to provide. And now all of a sudden this thing is being taken from you, right? And really not any fault of your own. So it's really hard to place. It's hard to place it in like. It's hard to like plan for it because you're like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, what the like, now this thing, I was going to stick it out here and now I
Yeah.
can't. That's no longer an option. So now what am I going to do? I wasn't planning on figuring out another thing, and now I have to figure this out. And I just know, and you kind of like alluded to it, which is why I was asking you, like, what was going on with you during that time, because I remember when I lost my job, I was like mentally devastated. I mean, it came with a lot of extra baggage and turmoil just because of the timing of it through COVID, the reason of it, like the whole thing. But my household was an absolute disaster in that time frame, and it took me from probably February. I wound up officially losing the job in June, but probably February till maybe like September, where I was just depressed and so uncertain. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I'm wondering if you felt, any kind of pressure like that, like what was going on with you mentally.
Yeah. I mean, exactly what you're saying is exactly what I was going through. You don't know, in that time period, it was hard to find jobs too, right? A lot of people, it's taking months and months and months of just applying and not getting any callbacks and not knowing, when you're going to be able to have, money coming back in steadily, is a scary feeling, especially, and that's why I'm thankful that once I did get it, and I have it, I'm able to pursue something that is going to allow me to protect myself if that is to happen again, right? Because I can't get
Mm-hmm.
too comfortable in this position. I mean, it's great and I love what it is right now, but it's still a position that, might have a clock. And I don't know when that, I kind of actually do know that because right now it's a contracting gig. So I do know when that clock is up currently. I mean, I have till the end of the year right now, hopefully getting extended into the end of next year. But, so I'm already on that clock right now, which is another reason why this new thing that I'm doing, the Swing IQ, is I'm pushing so hard for it because I want it to be able to help me out when that year comes to an end. Like, I need to have something coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a big motivator for me right now that has me constantly doing stuff every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a hard transition to make, right? You have the security of, well, in your case, you've had the curtains pulled. So you can kind of see behind the curtains now, where you're like, that security wasn't actually real. Like, I felt secure in it, but I got rug pulled on that, and that could happen again. So you're at least now kind of more mentally prepared for that possibility to happen again. But going from like collecting a check to hopefully, you get to the point where you're just all in on your business, because it does become a viable option for you to provide for your family. Um, and I can't wait to see the day that that happens for you because it's going to be awesome, but it's going to be absolutely terrifying. So I'm just gonna plant that seed in you now. Like it's going to be so
I think
freaking
that's it.
scary because you're not on Friday. You're not getting a check unless you make a check. You got to create the check. So it's like, I think some people get into like entrepreneurship with maybe they get fed the wrong idea because they're watching too much social media entrepreneur like gurus that are like, hey, you've won all the free time in your world and, and fly around on a jet and just hang out in Ibiza and whatever the hell it is. It's like, yeah, no, when you decide to run your own business, you have zero free time. All of your time is dedicated to this business because it's brand new. It doesn't run if you don't run it. And until you can get it to the point where it's running itself, hopefully, then you could step away and go on vacation, in Fiji or something like that. But, at first it's not like that. It's very scary. And there's some months that I think are going to be really great. And I'm just speaking from experience. Some months are freaking so crazy low on income and revenue generation. And you're like, all right, what am I doing? Like, is this like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like, I'm
should I go
stuck
get a
right.
job? Like, what the hell is going on? Yeah. So are you feeling any of that yet? Or you kind of have the security blanket still of the day job?
Right now, I still have the security of the day job. So it doesn't really, I don't think that really hits you until that's not there anymore at all. I think that's when that really finally hits you is when you're like, okay, you know, there's nothing coming in at all and you need to have something that's constantly coming in. So we'll see when that point is for me. I'm hoping within the year, by the end of the year, at least I have something, at least some sort of subscription base income coming in with monthly subscribers and stuff like that for, the app.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
So
want to talk about that specifically, but I kind of want to spend a little more time talking about the journey of getting to the idea that you have now, which seems like, at least for now, is the idea that you're rolling with. But you went from, you said, cleaning to marketing to this. So tell me what was going on. What was the cleaning idea? How long did that idea stick? And then what made you switch to a marketing thing and
yeah.
then to this? Yeah.
So I'd started with the cleaning because, I have a buddy that did it. He knew how to start it. He was kind of guiding me on how to go about it. But I never really felt passionate about it. And I could say that's going to be said for the rest of the things that I kind of bounced around with until, I got to this. And, I like this new year when I started investing in myself and doing the reading and um it kind of changed the way that I thought, like the way I thought I was, you know what I mean? So I thought that I was somebody that always completed something, finished something, but then I realized that, I start a lot of things and I don't actually follow through. Like, how can I get better at that? That's a big issue for me. So I'm like, okay, well, I want to do something, and kind of getting into how I got into the Swing IQ is that path of bouncing around from those things and then combining something that I was passionate about and entrepreneurship is what made me fall in love with this one for sure and just stick with that one. So the cleaning lasted a couple months. Then I did the media marketing lasted a couple months. And it just I wasn't putting my time and effort into it because I knew it wasn't what I really wanted to do.
What was the cleaning idea? What was the idea for that?
Well, I was going to clean Airbnbs and, residential cleaning. It was going to be just online. People, just look us up and order book cleanings with us. And it was going to be contractor based. I was going to hire contractors to do the cleanings and stuff like that, but I
And
never kind of followed
yeah,
through with it.
so it fell apart just because you didn't do the work, basically.
Yeah, I wasn't putting the work into it that I was not in the right mindset yet. Like that didn't happen until this January. Like I was still, the cleaning was, 9 months ago. It lasted for 2 months. Then I did the marketing for 2 months, but it didn't really click with me until I actually was like, I'm not finishing these things. I'm not committing. I'm not like where I need to fix something in myself, like on a day-to-day basis. Like I need to start changing my habits. And that's kind of what changed my whole mindset completely. I started reading like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey and the Atomic Habits by James Clear were the two that really have gotten me bettering myself every day and really putting the work in, and like nothing's going to change unless I make it change.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it doesn't even sound like the problem wasn't that you weren't finishing it. Those ideas sounded like you didn't really even start them,
Yeah,
you know?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
not
Like
to,
I would come up with the idea and not like actually do anything to push it.
yeah. Yeah, dude, we're very similar in that. I'm an idea man. Bro, I got all the ideas in the world. I got a folder that's literally called Great Ideas, and it's got 20 subfolders, and it's just
Yeah.
a bunch of shit that I never did anything with. And I caught myself last year come up with a new great idea, a new product for my video business I was going to start putting together. And I started putting it together, just like writing an outline. And I got into it for a little bit, and then I stopped myself, and I had like a moment that you had where I was like, oh, I'm literally I have like I went to go save it in the folder of great ideas, and I looked at all the list and I said, I did nothing with any of these great ideas. So I'm going to add another one to this folder that's a waste of my time. Like it's not making me any money. It's not getting me any business. Like, not to say that you shouldn't, try to develop some ideas that you have. But if you haven't even proven to yourself that you could execute on the first great idea you had, that was so great, it was going to be the best thing ever, and then it did
What happened?
nothing. It's not because the idea sucked. Maybe it's maybe because you sucked. You
Yeah,
didn't do the right shit, and that was the
exactly.
moment that I had with myself. It sounds like you had a very similar moment.
Hmm.
So yeah, dude, you were not alone in that. And I think that's most people who are at least inventive enough to come up with an idea for like a business or a product or a service. That's usually where it ends. It's an idea. They talk about it for 20 years,
It's
and
a
then
wall.
they die with regret because they never tried.
Yeah.
They never even tried,
Didn't
dude.
even attempt. And it wasn't like I would put it into perspective for me. Like all of those businesses that I wasn't putting the work into, like I felt it. It was dragging on me. Like I was like not doing it. It was weighing on me. It was going on for months. Felt like months. Felt like forever. I'm like, oh my God. But with this that I'm doing now, it's a completely different feeling, right? It feels like I've been doing it for months, but I'm enjoying it. And it's only been 3 weeks that I've really, pushed the envelope with what I'm doing. And the difference is, astronomical. I mean, you were talking about how like the ideas that I had before, like it sounded like I didn't even really start them. You're right, because I didn't. I wasn't pushing myself to do it. And now, and that, like I said, that was months. Now, 3 weeks into this, I've already had, 13 interviews. I've had, you know, 3 candidates that I've already identified that I want to, bring on as a co-founder to help me out with this. I've had conversations with Johns Hopkins University and their sports analytic research group, and set myself up to have calls with them on a weekly basis, and continue learning about the field. And it's like that's actually putting the work in and doing the things that you need to do to make sure that something's going to, come of your idea. You're building that foundation, you're laying the groundwork. You're not just talking about it and diddling on, a website maker for days on end and just not actually finishing a website. You're actually going out, talking to people, making the calls, putting in the work in, and it feels like it's been forever, but it's only been a couple days. And you're like, wow, that's the difference. You know what I mean? And you can see how that is going to change. When you start seeing that, you're like, oh, so this is what it really means to like find something you want to do and really put your all into it.
Mm-hmm. What you said you read a few books that really kind of made a difference for you, but what happened? What really is different about this time?
That's a good question because you say it's different this time, but it's really just a moment in time, honestly, right? It really is. Like, but it's how much you take advantage of that moment in time that really matters. And I think that's kind of the best way to look at that because what changed is, I was looking at my day-to-day life and I wasn't doing that. I wasn't, just a simple task every day, like really gets you going for the day. And you don't realize how much that really affects you until you look at yourself and you're doing the same thing every day and not doing those tasks. And then you do, and you're like, oh, well, I might as well do this. And then I might as well do that because I'm doing this. So you just start, it's like a chain. And, that wake up call is only going to last because there's going to be a time where, I'm going to be in a low again. That's just how life is. You have highs and you have lows. It's just a matter of having the right mindset through those highs and lows to make sure that you're taking advantage of them or, nullifying the effects of the lows as much as possible.
I guess what I'm asking you is, it's only been 3 weeks, right? And I'm not like trying to tear you down and tear you apart or whatever. Like, I really want to like get in your head a little bit about, because I feel like, dude, I feel like I've been in your exact same position. Recently I've been like super, um, I've been really uncertain about my ability to have a successful year with my business, even though last year was great. It went like really well. But this year's starting off way slower than it did last year. And that may or may not be in my control. Um, so I know like the highs and the lows, like I'm feeling it. I was like riding on a high for a while, and this is the first like true low after like kind of establishing this business that I'm like, oh, this is not a given. Like I need to be prepared for these low points. But you go from one idea to the next, and you read a couple books that which is freaking awesome. I've heard of both of those books. I've read neither of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to add them to the list for sure. But usually what happens is like you read something, you hear something, you have like an aha moment where you're like something just clicks. Like it's the right time to receive a specific message where you could actually absorb it, and then you go, and then it takes a moment of reflection to go like, oh shit, like I'm the only one stopping me, which is usually what the aha moment is for everybody's like, oh, I'm in my own way. I need to just get out of my own way, and I need to do what I said I'm going to do, and I need to do the things that are actually going to move the needle forward instead of, like you said, diddling on a website maker, which is literally doing nothing for this idea to get it off the ground. That's like item 12 that I need to worry
Yes.
about. I haven't even done item 1, 2, and 3 yet. So it's like, okay, so I'm avoiding doing the hard things or the things that I'm uncomfortable with in it, just to like delay having to do the hard thing. So like, what is going on in your head that has changed this for you, that you're like, this is it, I found something that I really love and I'm going to turn this into a viable business for me, and I know what I got to do? Like what the hell happened?
It's exactly like you said, you look at yourself and you're like, wow, I really am not putting in the amount of effort that I need to put in to make anything work. So when you have that wake up call, it's kind of hard to turn away from that. You know what I mean? It's like that's what you want to do now. I've basically made it so I surround myself every day that I'm constantly, you know, reminding myself that I need to put the work in. I need to constantly keep moving forward every day. Do it now, do it now, do it now. Like, don't push it off. Like, why are we procrastinating it? So when I have ingrained that into my everyday to just, have that mindset and surround myself with it, when I'm commuting to work, I'm listening to either, the Atomic Habits or 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm listening to it in my car, as an audiobook. If I do catch myself scrolling on social media, I try to make sure that the only things I'm following are motivational pages, motivational quotes, or telling me to get off social media. Like, those are the only things I try to follow. So even if I do get caught going down the rabbit hole, it's something that's telling me to get out of it, pushing me out of it. And with me surrounding myself with that every day, it's making it very easy for me to stay on this path. And I don't see a way for me to come off it now, right? Because it kind of becomes addicting almost. You love the feeling of bettering yourself and learning again and opening up your mind. You ask you what's different this time for me is recently as well. I thought back, the best way to put it is it's kind of like coming out of a fog. You know what I mean? Like your
Mhm.
brain, you're living in a fog, and then that fog is kind of just dissipates. And then you're like, whoa, I didn't realize I was living in a fog for this amount of time. And, for me, it was like kind of similar to you. You said you did it kind of like for 13 years. And that's kind of what it was like for me. I was in that fog for 13 years. I was young when I had my first son. I was 19 years old. And, when you're 19 years old and you find out you're going to be a parent, your mind changes very quickly from like, I'm learning who I am and what I want to do in life. And you're like, okay, I have somebody that I need to provide for and take care of. And that was all my mind focused on was working. And that's kind of what got me in the logistics work and grinding it out and just paying the bills and just not investing in myself because, I was just too busy trying to work and pay the bills, go home, go to sleep. And then with the birth of my second son this past year and losing the job, and, I was like, what I've been doing is clearly not working. I am not where I want to be in life. I'm happy, there's a lot of things I'm happy about, but this is not the freedom and the financial freedom that I would like to be at. So having that mindset combined with the decision to invest in myself and read the books and commit to it and surround myself by it is why I believe it's different. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just the recipe is just it's perfect. It has to be right. Like this has to be the time. Especially I look at it from every angle, right? I try to look at it from the professional angle. I try to look at it from my family angle. I try to look at it from every possible way, and if every way it's good and pointing to like this is the right sign, then it has to be the right sign, right? Like that's because I was thinking about it, like I said, just with my family angle. My oldest is just entering his teenage years. My youngest is just born. What a perfect time for me to reinvent myself and be an example and role model for my kids, right? They're
Yeah.
both entering pivotal moments in their lives. So, like, if I can show them, like, you can do this at any point in time in your life and figure out who you are and what you want to do, and, show them that when you invest in yourself and better yourself, that's how you get to where you want to be. And that's how you create the life that you want, right? Everything forms by what you manifest and what you put the work into and envision in your life.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, dude, I feel it so much because, I look at my son, he's about to be 11. And when I was working in pharmaceuticals, I was either working second shift, or for a little bit I was working first shift, but I usually was working like an off shift, and my wife was always working an opposite shift as me. So his whole like first, I don't know, 8 years, it was like one parent in the house at like one one given time, like for like most of that. And it sucks, man. Like looking back, I miss so much, especially working like a second shift, because anything that's going to happen after school or daycare or whatever it was at the time is going to happen when I'm at work. So I miss so much. And, hearing you talk about, what better time to reinvent myself and be that example, right? For your youngest kid is just going to know this as who you are now because he doesn't know any better, right? He barely fucking knows what his damn fingers are.
Yeah.
He's just figuring those out. He's
Yeah,
like,
he's
these are
going.
cool. These are great. Yeah. But your oldest son, he's smart, man. Is he 13 now?
Yeah, he actually just turned 13 2 days ago.
Yeah. So he's at the age where he's super impressionable. So to be able to look up to his father to say like he probably, I don't know how much like you talk to him about like, hey, I lost a job, here's what's going on. It probably, I don't know, I'm not going to assume, but he may not know like the full details of what's going on, but he sees that something's different. Like you used to work this job, now you work this other job, and then at some point you're going to be doing this swing IQ. That's what you called it, right? Swing
Yep.
IQ
Yeah.
full time, hopefully, where that's like now this is this business that I'm running, and I'm wearing the shirt and I'm wearing the hat and I'm, you know, taking him to, you know, different fucking events where I'm like promoting this business and this idea. And that's what he's going to know. And that's what he's going to see. And it's like, as a father, man, like and I know you agree, like there's no better feeling than looking at your son, looking at you and realizing that he's like, wow, I'm actually like, my dad's pretty cool. Like my dad is doing interesting shit. My dad is somebody that I'm proud of. Even at his young age, he could see what's going on, you know? So yeah, man, that hit me hard, man. What better time than now, right? And
Perfect.
even if you don't, if you're not a parent and you've just been thinking
Yeah.
about like, hey, I have this idea and I've been stewing on it for a couple months or a couple years, it's like, yeah, well, when are you going to act on it? What better time than now?
Yeah.
You know,
Just
the
do it.
best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The next best time is today. What are you going to do? Wait
100%.
till tomorrow and then wait till tomorrow and then wait till tomorrow never comes. So it's like you have to act on it now. The problem is with most people, and it happened to you and it happened to me and it happened to a lot of people, is they have to get the rug pulled out from them to make a move.
You need that wake up call. A lot of people,
A lot.
it's scary because some people never get that opportunity to wake up. They live in that fog for their entire lives. I've seen it firsthand with people that I know personally. I mean, in my own life, that I just looked at and I was like, I don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be the what if guy. What if I did this? What if I did that? Imagine what that could have been. That's depressing to me, man. Especially like thinking about being, in your older age, and it's, when you're that old and the clock's ticking, and you're just thinking like, man, I really could have had all these opportunities to do all these things and just didn't. That's it. I just chose not to. That's it. It's a choice. Even if you're not choosing, that means you've chosen. You chose something.
Yeah. No, wow. That's actually a really good point. You chose not to act on that voice in your head, that thing in your heart that was saying, hey, do something greater, try something different. Do the thing that is scary because you don't, it's uncertainty on the other end of that.
Yeah.
But that
You might
might
as
be,
well you might as well fail doing what you love instead of fail doing what you hate. Right?
yeah,
That's another good one. Like,
yeah,
why not?
yeah. And you know what, man? Somebody, I forget who the hell said it. I don't remember where I heard it, but they said you're either winning or you're learning. You're never losing. You're never failing. You're never losing. Even in your quote unquote failures, if you don't take that opportunity to learn, okay, what went wrong? What was my part in that? What can I do differently to make sure that doesn't happen again? And then get back on the horse and start riding. And when you come back up to that hurdle, you know what to do now because you learned from that last mistake. So I would push back and just say we're not failing. You're not failing. But to your point, if you never take the chance, you'll never even know. And you will most certainly be on your deathbed, hopefully at a ripe old age,
Hopefully.
going, man, I wish I would have did that golf thing I thought about when I was 32 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
No, I don't think anybody really does. Like, think about it. Who really like decides. It's the problem is that choice is such a small and fast decision that you really have to want to catch it to catch that choice. The best way for me when I noticed that I was like, oh, wow, there is something different here is when I started catching myself slipping, right? When I was like not doing the things that I knew I should be doing. And I'd be like, oh, dude, you're slipping, man. And when you start like seeing yourself catch yourself doing that, you're like, Oh, okay. Okay, I like this. And then the best example that I can give is, I was sleeping and I woke up and I had to go to work and I didn't realize we were supposed to get snow in the morning. And I went to go outside and my car is covered in snow and I'm like, and there was a moment lightning fast where you have a choice, right? I could go in, start my car, sit down on the couch, scroll on YouTube for 30 minutes and waste time, or I could go outside, enjoy being present for once in my life since I've been a kid, you know what I mean? And just take the time and clean off my car. And when I started making choices like that and catching those little choices, I'm like, this is what it means to like really change. And like that was a cool experience.
Yeah, and some people might hear that and think that, well, that's so small. Like, how insignificant was that choice? It's like, no, the choice that I would have made was sit on the couch for 30 minutes and just let shit melt and then maybe just call out of work because I don't feel like going to work now
Yeah.
because I'm
You don't
feeling
know what's
so
going to happen.
lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know what the other thing is too, there's um there's a lot of people who suffer with the inability to recognize those moments, right? They would find themselves in a moment like that and they would point the finger at somebody else. You know, they would kick and scream and complain. Well, this freaking weather, like this is why I shouldn't live up in the mountains. I should live down in Florida and and just complain all the way until maybe the thing eventually gets done, but certainly not in a timely fashion. But then never take any responsibility for how they got in that situation. Now, there's going to be plenty of shit that's out of your control, but
Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
said it. You were like, I didn't realize that we were going to get snow. Well, why not? If you were preparing to go to work the next morning, you didn't check the weather. You didn't go, hey, what's tomorrow? It is winter. We do live in the Poconos. we
Right. And it's
can,
like, and then at that point, it's like, how much do you really want to pre plan for something? You got to just kind of
yeah,
be able to take a moment and just enjoy it and find the joy in that moment, right? So like take that car that for example, me cleaning off my car, it wasn't just being present in that moment, right? I just looked around and like the snow was glistening on the sun, from the sun. I could feel the air on my face. It was just like when you be present, it's amazing how much your brain releases and like how much you can, unlock in your brain just from enjoying being present because you're not so tensed up and stressed about everything at the time. We're complaining about why it's an issue. You're just making the best and enjoying the best way to put it is you're enjoying the process, right? You can't just enjoy the reward because then you don't get to you don't have the trials and tribulations along the way to shape you and your path and why it means so much to you when you get that reward. So it's just like you expect it to be immediate and you have to enjoy every step of the way. And when you learn to enjoy the process, and that was the biggest takeaway I took away from that car cleaning experience was just like enjoy the process of everything in life. Because by doing that, you just eliminate so much stress and anxiety.
yeah. Just face it head on. Enjoy the suck. I mean, life sucks sometimes, man.
Yeah,
And it's easier said than done to say like, well, just find the silver lining in it and just enjoy the moment and this and that. It's like, well, this moment sucks. Well, guess what? The moment's there and you're going to have to deal with it one way or the other. And if you're the type of person like the type of person that I want to say I was, but still am in a lot of ways, where it's like we naturally want to avoid the hard thing or the unpleasant moment.
yeah,
So we will run from it or we'll hide from it. We'll avoid it by doing something else or we'll point the finger and not take responsibility for ourselves being there. But the moment still exists. And whether you deal with it now or you deal with it 30 minutes from now, it's just like dealing with it 30 minutes from now, you just added another layer
of
of
stress
stress. Yeah, because now
because
you have
something else
to,
is going to happen.
yeah, well, now you're super late to work, Like now you're way behind the freaking schedule. Now you have to explain to your boss why the hell you're 30 minutes more late. It's like, yeah, you didn't have to do that. And so it's like, I don't know, maybe you check the weather when you're laying down at night and go, all right, it's not going to snow tomorrow. I don't have to get it up any earlier. I'm good to go there, So there's always lessons to learn in these little moments, man. But yeah, something that I struggled with too, and I still struggle with is hearing, or catching myself in those moments that you're talking about, where it's like, hey, 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 you're about to lay back down. Don't do that. You're already up. You're taking a piss. Might as well brush your teeth. Might as well just not lay back down. And that's that inner bitch voice that you got to fight. You know,
Yeah. Well,
you got,
comfort's the enemy of growth, man. When you get comfortable, you just sit there and you enjoy it. And it's warm and cozy, and
yeah,
it's nice, man. It's real tempting. Don't get me
it's
wrong, it's
it's
real
good.
tempting, but you can enjoy that when it's well and deserved. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And then you can really just enjoy that comfort. But put in the work now, right? Because hard work now means easy life later. Easy life now means hard life later. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. What are some things that you have on like your daily, like, I must do these things list to move the needle forward with swing IQ?
I just try to make sure I'm at least doing something, no matter how small it is, towards the business every day. This way my mind's constantly on, because that's where you get in trouble, right? It's just like going to the gym. When you get into a routine, you're going to the gym and you go as a habit and you're going, 5 days a week religiously, you're doing the nutrition, you're doing everything. It's easy to can stay with it. But then all of a sudden, you get sick for a week and you're like, ooh, man, should go to the gym, but I really don't know. And then, he kind of tailors off, 3 days a week, 1 day a week, and then you stop going to the gym. So I find that as long as I'm doing something, it doesn't matter what it is, honestly. Truthfully, it doesn't have to be a major thing. Obviously you have to focus on the urgent things and important things to keep that needle going. You're going to have a day where, you're like, I don't have it mentally in me. I'm just going to but as long as on that day you're doing something, you're sending a LinkedIn message, you're messaging somebody, you're researching something, you're doing some sort of social media post, something for that business so that it's constantly in your mind. That's how I know that's how I keep that needle going in every day. Because, some days I am going to do a couple, two things that aren't going to do too much. Then other days I'm going to go above and beyond and do, you know, 12 interviews in one day and schedule a meeting with, a college here and a college there and, research this. And it's my whole day is going to be filled with working, almost 24 hours. Because like you said, when you take that entrepreneur hat on and wear it, you're working all the time. There's times I wake up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And I start jotting stuff down and I start researching stuff, just so I don't forget. So as long as I'm doing a little bit every day, that's how that needle keeps me motivated.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think there's a point with the business where that's not going to be enough? It's like, oh, I'll just do, even as small as it is, I'll do, like, once it becomes like more established, where you have like, hey, I have certain metrics I got to get hit. I got to get clients in. I got to get vendors lined up, whatever the thing might be. Do you foresee there being like a point where it's like it's going to pivot into like, okay, I can't just do the bare minimum anymore. I have to do, points 1 through 5, and I got to make sure these get done.
Yeah, I mean that's even happening now. Like it's not that putting in the bare minimum right now. There's a lot of things that have transpired that for the timeline of what I want to accomplish. I'm really got this train going full steam ahead. I'm right on track for exactly what my expectations are for, getting things up and running, getting business going, getting funding, getting marketing. So I think it's always going to be like that. When you're doing a startup like this, there's always something. You're always constantly working on something. So yeah, it's not just like, it may be like a couple LinkedIn messages, but those might be really crucial messages of getting
Mm-hmm.
really contact people that I need to be working with or aligned with in order to make these things happen. That's another way to look at it, right? It may seem like certain tasks may not be big tasks, but they're accomplishing a lot for what needs to get done, you know? So it's just that's another thing that really motivates me though, too, is when there's always something to do, it's hard to get bored. because you're just constantly like, oh, I need to do this now. I need to do this, right? And with a startup, there's legal things, there's legal documents you have to create. You're worrying about finding the co-founder. You got to get, experts in the field to, validate the research once you start getting the data, getting beta testers to test your app, so there's always something that's going to be going on. And I think the best thing for me is being able to look at it one step at a time and be like, this is what I need to focus on right now. This is the most crucial thing. It's the 80-20 rule. Focus on what's giving you 80% of your business. Where are you getting the most out of it? Focus on that.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to do and how I have my timeline laid out and what I'm focusing on. So number one right now is for that co-founder. That's what I'm working on, those interviews, making sure I'm finding the right person, because that's a big role, right? That's somebody that has to have the same vision as me, that's willing to work at this, with the same mindset on something. So it's going to be a lot of getting to know each other and talking and really making sure they're the right fit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I was actually going to bring that up next. You posted about it, I think just a few days ago, maybe it was even yesterday or the day before, where you said, I have to do these interviews. I did a bunch of them, and it was really eye opening, and it went way better than I thought. Like it looked like to me from an outside perspective that you were like pretty nervous about having to do that and maybe uncomfortable with like going through that process. Can you talk a little bit about like leading up into that and then finally doing it? And then it sounds to me like realizing like, oh, first of all, I don't know what the hell I was worried about, but also like I had some really good conversations with some
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. So leading up to that first one, I really was super nervous. I was like slapping myself in the face, really trying to fire myself up. I'm like, whoo, whoo, like yelling to myself, like really pumping myself up because I felt like I was going to puke. I really did. And I didn't know why, and I did that first interview, and, I was nervous and I'm stumbling over my words and not really, the best way to say it is I wasn't prepared. I didn't put the work in to prepare for that first one as well as I should. But then once I did it, it kind of was like, okay, well, I know who I am as a person. I'm pretty much, I'm a pretty good people person. I'm pretty good at, navigating conversations. I can kind of get a good layout of rooms when I walk into them. I can kind of navigate, how to communicate. I'm like, so why am I stressing? Why am I making this way more than it needs to be? So I'm like, and first I'm like, second of all, this is my business, right? If I'm going to be the founder, this is exactly, I need to be who I want to be, right? As that person, just be myself. It's my business. So stop stressing. And once I realized that, honestly, that first one was really, really, really nerve wracking. But then, 2, 3 later, it's almost like, okay, I got this now. You kind of, you know how to feel your way around the conversation. You know what questions you want to ask, and you know what cues to look for, when you're doing that. So that was really cool once I got to, now that I'm, done double digit interviews and looking to reach out to people for the second time now, you know, that that nervousness isn't really there anymore. And I can kind of just take a breath and just focus on what I need to focus on, which is cool.
Yeah. So you're looking for a co-founder. So what are you looking for? Like what are some of the attributes that you're looking in this person to have, or the role that they're going to be filling?
Yeah, well, they're going to be the chief technical officer, right? They're going to oversee all of the technical side of things. They're going to, I'm not the most AI savvy. AI is blowing up now. And in order to, to get into that field, you need to have somebody that knows what they're doing, so I'm looking for people that have had, 7+ years experience in computer science and, artificial intelligence and data analytics and stuff like that. And it's been, I need somebody that can oversee all of the developmental aspects of this project, right? While I focus on the marketing and the funding and, the business vision as a whole, that's kind of how the breakdown is.
Hmm. Do you feel like a little bit of um like imposter syndrome a little bit going into some of those interviews because you're looking for somebody to do all the technical shit that you don't really know how to do, and you're like vetting them, like you're interviewing them for the thing. It's like,
Yeah,
what does that feel like?
it's definitely weird, right? Because you don't really know as much as they do. So it's like, how do you go about it? But you have to remember, right? This is your vision. This is your business. They're just helping you achieve your vision because they know the technical know-how. So it's definitely interesting, but it's why I wanted to do a lot of interviews though, because the more I do, the more I'm learning, right? Each interview, I'm hearing the lingo, the vocabulary, asking questions. Oh, how long would this take? And I'm getting different answers from different people and starting to learn. So this is what that's what an LLM is, a large language model. You know what I mean? Okay, that's cool. And then you start piecing together those, and when you get to those later interviews, now like once I'm at 13, 14, 15 now. You start to pick up on that lingo now, and you're like, okay, now I know what that means. Now I know what that means. And I think that's why it's really important to, like, especially when you're looking for a role like this, you want to make sure you're doing as many interviews as possible, right? Because quantity will give you the insight, and then you can, especially for me, I'm, reviewing these interviews, because I want to be able to look back on them and take notes and, really make sure I have the right candidate. So I don't know. It's a really cool experience.
Are you recording the interviews so you could watch
Yeah.
them back, or are you just taking notes?
No, I'm recording them so I can watch them back so that I can really make sure that I'm grasping everything. Because like I said, when I didn't know what was going on, I'm asking these questions. These people are, I didn't necessarily know if they were hitting the right qualifications. I wanted to make sure I was able to look back and be like, okay, this guy's the right fit. So I could look back, take notes. Okay, this guy knew this. This guy knew that. This was a good fit for that. So that helps out a lot.
Yeah, I know a lady who's in like the titling industry, like mortgage titles. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to interview somebody and hire my first employee." And she told me a story. She was like, "Yeah, my husband told me that I need to interview like a bunch of people." He's like, or she was like, because he knows me, like I'm going to like the first person, and I'm just going to hire the first person, which is exactly what she did. She was like, I interviewed the first person. She's like, I really liked her. And she hired her. I don't think that girl works for her anymore. It wasn't that long. And, maybe it just wasn't a right fit or something like that. But without, like you said, like gathering more data, and then really you do have to compare, apples to apples. You got to say, hey, all of these people say they're qualified for this job. They know what they're talking about. They have the experience. Even if I don't know all the vocabulary, I'm learning it. And then once you get deeper into the into the process, you're like, wait, thinking back to the first guy, like
I knew what he was talking about.
yeah, he really knew what he was talking about. I didn't understand it at the time because I was just too much of a noob. But like now that I've gained more knowledge, like I could view that interview in a different context, right? And maybe that guy, maybe that's the guy,
Mm-hmm.
who winds up being the guy. So that's cool, man, dude. I'm super proud of you. I really am, man. I
I
I
appreciate it.
think what you're doing is amazing. I didn't want you to feel like earlier I was trying to pick your idea apart. I just like
No.
really like want to get into your head just because I know how I am, and I know that I go through a lot of the same struggles that you're probably going through and will go through and have gone through, and it's not easy. And I think if we could provide any value with our discussion, it could probably be to somebody who's got an idea and just can't figure out how to make the first step and take a leap of faith in themselves. So I'm hoping this really helps. What are some other things that you've you've done to ensure that this isn't just going to be another idea that switches to something else? Like it sounds like you're really passionate about this and you really love this idea, um, but without putting things in place, or is there any other things that you've kind of prioritized to make sure that you do what's necessary to make this
E-
happen?
yeah. Actually, definitely there is. And you probably see it firsthand, right? You're my friend on social media, so one thing I've been trying to do is touch base every week and kind of check in with people in general and keep them updated on kind of what I'm doing. And it's a way for me to self check and hold myself accountable by making sure, if I'm telling people what I'm doing, then, it makes it a little bit more like I need to make sure that I'm sticking, like I want to be a man of my word. I don't want to just put it up there and be fake. You know what I mean? I want people, I want to actually live by what I'm telling people. And I find that that's kind of helping me also, back to a topic that we talked about earlier, solidifying, how I'm keeping this mindset, by surrounding myself with it. I'm also very open about, I think I made that pretty clear while we've been talking. I'm very
Yeah.
open about, what I am doing and why I am changing and why my mindset is the way it is. And, by being that way, it allows me, I like to tell people because it's like teaching, you know what I mean? I'm like teaching them what I'm learning, whether they want to accept it or not. And if they tell me like, I don't want to hear about it, I'm like, okay, cool. We won't talk about that. But when I tell people what I'm going through and why I'm, having this changing moment in my life, it solidifies it in my brain, as I'm telling people. So that's another aspect of it.
Yeah, there is something to like the public accountability, you know, um, where it will like because you could tell yourself you're going to do something, and then if you don't do it, like who else know? Like nobody fucking
Nobody else
nobody
knows.
knows. Yeah, nobody knows that you just ate all the cookies last night. Like,
Yeah.
but once you put it out there, it's like, oh shit, right? And I feel that. I feel that a lot because I've done that a lot, and it has helped. There have been times where I realized that even with doing that, I wasn't following through with shit. The public accountability wasn't going to be enough for me to finally make the change to finish something that I started. Like, and it's usually like good example of that would be like working out, some sort of fitness challenge or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm looking to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 months, 3 months, whatever the thing was.
Yeah, you did one of those
Post,
fitness challenges though, didn't you? Not that long ago?
yeah, and I killed it. All right, I
Yeah, you did.
absolutely killed it.
Yeah, you did.
But that was like the first time in 40 years that I actually like did the thing I said I was going to do. Um, but the problem wasn't with anybody out there. The problem was with me. I just didn't. First of all, I didn't love myself enough to actually finish the thing that I started. And I taught everybody around me to just see me as the guy who has a bunch of great ideas. Is going to start a bunch of them. We're never going to see the finished product. So we're not going to have a lot of investment in what this guy's saying. It's the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
I was gonna get back in shape so many times, never fucking did. Always start it, good for 2 weeks, maybe 2 months, and then eat all the cookies in the house.
All the
I got a
snacks.
big all the snacks, bro. I eat all the snacks. There's none for you. I eat all the snacks. But that last one that I did, I just had a lot going on where you're in a flow state right now. It's like, fuck, man, I got a great idea. I'm doing what it takes to make it come to fruition. I have put the right like tools in place to like make this important enough to actually see through. So whether it's like your kids, your wife, your family, like leaving the job eventually full time, like you have a mechanism there that is like driving you to now create discipline. It's no longer motivation, it's
Yeah,
becoming discipline, right? Motivation is
exactly.
fleeting. Too many people rely on motivation, right? January
Hmm.
1st hits, I'm going to get back in shape, I'm going to get the six pack. And then by January 6th, they're fucking eating Doritos on the couch. They're paying for a gym membership they're never going to use, right?
Yeah.
That's most people. I
Yeah.
don't do New Year's resolutions anymore. I stopped doing that a few years ago. But this last year, when I did the fitness transformation, dude, I was locked in.
The results are there, man.
I
You can
was
see them.
locked in.
That was
I
good.
was like, I'm a
It
little
was
loose right
inspiring.
now. I'm a little loose right now, so I'm not gonna say that I've been super disciplined these last few months, but it was a point where I finally proved to myself, I proved to my wife, I proved to my coach, I proved, my friends, my family, people, even people that I don't know who might be following me or seeing me on social, like, well, that guy does shit that he says he's going to do. And
Hmm.
what do you think that does for every other part of your life when people see you, Joe, as the guy who does the shit he says he's going to do, even when it's like, I don't understand it, it seems difficult. It's like, but that guy's doing it. So it's like, that does a lot, you know? And when I lost the job, first of all, my back was against the wall. This business thing, there was no reason for me to believe that it was going to work. My wife didn't believe it. She was like, dude, I've seen you start 100 things and never finish it. It's like, you have a camera. You don't even barely use it. Like, you don't have any clients. So when I made the transition, I just finally had it in my head. I was like, first of all, I made a huge investment in myself with coaching and like financially pretty big investment. And that was like an added tool in the toolbox to ensure that I was going to do what it took, because I wasn't going to burn $8,000 because like, I don't feel like doing sales. I don't feel like sending messages. Like, no, I don't want to lose $8,000 because I don't even have $8,000. I just lost my job. It's like I don't have any money. So it's like I just had to make it happen. It just had to happen. There was no, like, I burned the boats. You got to burn the boats. And at some point, Joe, you're going to have to burn the fucking boats. And burning the boats means that job that you have that's kind of giving you some
It's not going to
security.
be able, yeah,
That is also the thing that will
tie you down.
potentially, not that it's gonna, but it could potentially be the thing to stop you from doing what it takes to get this
Yeah.
thing off the
Can't let it,
ground.
right?
Can't let it happen.
Can't let it
There's a
happen.
great book I read. It's called Burn the Boats.
I
You
like
should
it.
read that book. I'll lend it to you.
I
Next
would
time I
definitely
see
read
you,
it.
remind me. I'll give it to you.
Burn the boats.
But it's all about, there's no other options.
Yeah.
There's a story. There's
Go
a
ahead.
story in a book, real quick. There's a story in a book, and I think it was World War I or World War II, maybe, where the troops, they storm the fucking beach. They show up to the beach in their boats, right? They're fighting a war in a foreign land, and the general says, when we hit the shore, we're burning the boats. They set the boats on fire. There's no turning back. There's only one way out of this, and it's forward. So that's the concept. It's like, remove all plan Bs, all other options, anything that might get you to think that I don't really have to do what it takes to do this because I got this job or I got this other thing going. Fuck that. Burn those boats.
Doesn't exist.
There's only forward is the only way out,
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you said that because, when I mentioned my buddy earlier that, really is, a serial entrepreneur, that was what he told me, when you first realize it's real is when that first business where you have to, like you said, burn the boats. There's no turning back. It has to work or it has to work. That's the only option. There is no failure. There is no, well, if it happens, it happens. There's no safety net. This is it. This is all I got. And once you're in that situation, that's it. It's forward. That's it. You can only walk forward.
Yeah. Yo, look, entrepreneurship, there is no, if it happens, it happens. You're not an entrepreneur. You're not a
Yeah, you
business
can't live
owner.
like that anymore. You
Yeah,
can't.
you're not. First of all, you're not going to have a business.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's never going to happen. If you're lackadaisy about, well, maybe I'll get some clients in this month or maybe I won't. If you're not doing absolutely what it takes to get people in your business, to get clients in your funnel, then you don't have a business and you're not cut out for it. And not everybody's cut out for it. So, like, you don't have to burn your boats yet, but there is going to be a time where I feel like when you got your CTO locked in, you've got some funding locked in, things are starting to get developed. Once it becomes a thing where it's like the day job, like the time it takes to do your regular job, is starting to encroach on
Mm-hmm.
getting this idea into a tangible fucking product. That's the moment you're going to have with yourself where you're like, babe, I think I have to quit this job.
I
I
have
think
to.
it's time. I have to.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way, because it's just going to be this thing that never gets built. I'm just not dedicating enough time to it.
Yeah, you need to eventually hit that switch and put 100% into it, right? You can only do it part-time until it takes over, and then you have to and jump ship onto a new boat. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times you got to jump off a big, cozy cruise ship into a little dinghy.
Oh
with
yeah, it's not
half a
fun either.
paddle. No, it's
Water spraying up from the bottom.
yeah, you're
You're like,
bailing
oof,
water, it's
yeah,
fighting.
that's terrible.
It's horrible. Being a business owner sucks. I just want to let everybody know that. It's not what Instagram leads you to believe it is. You're not
Yeah,
floating around in a G5 jet. At least I'm not.
me either.
I don't
I'm
know,
not
man.
even close to that yet.
Yeah.
I
What
just
else?
want to.
What else do you have going on outside Swing IQ that you're doing to kind of like solidify this change in who you are from somebody who's motivated sometimes to do some shit to somebody who is disciplined, who's doing the hard thing, especially when you don't want to do it. Is there
Yeah,
anything else you have going on?
yeah. I mean, kind of. Just the day to day routine, the day to day life. Just changing. Your habits in your day to day. Things that you don't really want to do all the time. I mean, some people do, right? Cooking is one of those things where some people really dread it and other people love it. And for the longest time, I was one of those people that hated it. I ate out all the time, and now that's one of those things that I'm doing now, like to hold myself accountable, is trying to cook a lot more. You know, enjoying the process of things like going food shopping, and nobody likes to do that stuff.
I
But
hate
if you
it.
could find a way to enjoy it, I found that they were playing music from like my time period now. I'm like, this is great. That's one thing I enjoy about going food shopping now. Cool. So it's like looking for those little things every day. And, cooking was one of the first telltales for me when I started enjoying that and getting into it and realizing I was actually kind of good at it. I was like kind of natural at it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I enjoy this. I just hate cleaning it. So now in the household, we have it set up. If you do all the cooking, you don't have to do the cleaning. So my son and my wife tag team, cleaning up the dinner at the end of the night, which makes it enjoyable for me now because now I can enjoy the act of cooking and feeding my family and providing for them, but I don't have to do the chore of cleaning it up.
I love
So
that.
it's like a give and take. I do a little something motivational and something that I don't ever really want to do, and my family helps me stay motivated by not making me clean it up at the end.
Yeah. What with Swing IQ, what's the support level from your wife?
Very supportive. Yeah, as long as like I'm actually applying and myself and doing stuff and keeping her updated, then that's all she could ask for. She just wants to make sure that I'm not just saying I'm doing stuff and really just scrolling through Facebook all day. I'm actually setting up interviews. I'm actually contacting people. That's another check-in, right? I do it
Mm.
on social media. I do it with the family. I do it with, everybody I talk to. Hey, this is where I'm at. Just kind of like making sure as long as I keep saying it, it stays with me. And it's a constant reminder.
Yeah, it could be really hard when your spouse, um, first of all, they don't support you, but they most likely don't support you because you've taught them to not believe that you're going to
Trust
make
you.
make it
Yeah.
happen, right? My brother Brian told me one time with addiction, I think he said a pastor told him, or maybe it was like in an AA meeting, that somebody said it to him and he passed it to me, and it just stuck in my freaking head. And this was like fucking 12 years ago. He told me this shit 10 years ago. He said, we teach people around us not to trust us, right? So he was talking about it in the context of being an addict, being somebody who was lying all the time and stealing and just kind of being a dirtbag, and then wondering why nobody wants to be around me, why nobody wants to bail me out of jail this time, why nobody wants to come visit me in rehab or in jail. It's like, yeah, you've created an environment where people don't want to be around you. So that rings through my freaking head more than I'd like to admit it, but it is super powerful for me because when I decided to make the transition, we were already having like a hard time in the household because of the way I lost my job and the whole freaking timing and of everything. So it was just like another thing that piled on an already bad situation. But I had time and time again taught my wife specifically that I'm never going to finish nothing. I'm going to do woodwork, and I build myself a wood shop, and then I never fucking build anything. Or I do a couple things, but then it's just a hobby, caught my eye. I really like doing it for a little bit until I don't like doing it
I'm
anymore.
bored.
Yeah. So like I got really good at working on cars because I had to because my car was always breaking down. So it was like, all right, working on friends' cars. Like, oh, maybe this could be a like a thing that I do as like a revenue stream. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not like a plus mechanic. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just watching a bunch of YouTube videos. And then that faded. So it was like when I got to this thing, she looked at me and she was like, yeah, okay, buddy. Right, right. You're going to have a video production company? Sounds good. Let me know when we get there. Yeah. So it's like, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for having that energy, but I had taught the people around me to just see me as a person who would have a great idea, would do it for a little bit, but never see it through. So that's great, man, that your wife supports you and that she's there for you. But also it sounds like she kind of keeps you grounded, like, hey, 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 you doing remember you said this was gonna be the thing? You said that about the last thing and the one that was right before that. Like, what'd you do today? You did some shit? Like, okay, I don't need all the details. I don't you bore me with the details, but you're doing it. All right, good. You're doing it. So I don't know how much she like invested in the idea, like if she likes hearing about it or she just likes seeing you, you know, taking your
I
steps.
I think she just likes to see me taking my steps. I think when I'm in this flow state type of mindset and, when I'm really excited about things is when she enjoys to see me the most, obviously. It's hard watching somebody go through a tough time and then, when you see them, especially somebody you really care about. So seeing them go through good moments is really, a good feeling. And I think she likes when I get into these stages because, I'm super motivated. I want to just keep going and pushing. And, she even told me herself, the other day, she goes, the good thing about this is there's always going to be something you need to do. So you're not going to be able to just, get comfortable. She's like, I think that's where things get dangerous is when you get comfortable and you feel like you're right where you need to be. And then all of a sudden it's not. So she's like, with this, there's going to be constant change and you're always going to need to be doing something and learning something and talking to somebody. And it's hard to fall away from that and get bored of it when that's how, it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was working in pharmaceuticals, bro, I showed up high to work every day. I loved smoking weed, bro. That was my favorite hobby. It was a sport for me. I was an MVP. And my family. We got some smokers in my family. But I smoked since I was like 14 years old, 15 years old. And I would show up to that job at Sanofi every day, high as a damn kite. And I was killing that job. I was moving my way up the corporate ladder. I was crushing it. I was giving full blown meetings to senior directors, high as a goddamn kite, cracking jokes on people, rhyming. It was like a stand up set every
Yeah. You
time.
just feel comfortable. You're in flow state, man.
But I was comfortable. I was in
Yeah.
the confines of this job that I knew how to do without really thinking about it because I had done it for long enough. I was good at it. I was just a natural, like middle management leader type guy, and then once that ended, I kept smoking. I started smoking way more just because of depression and shit. But when I started this job, this business, which if I'm not careful, just turns into another job. So I need to make sure this thing keeps
Yeah.
growing. But
Yeah.
when I started the business, I realized that I got to stop smoking weed, and not because it's bad for me or whatever, but I'm not doing the shit I need to do to get business, which was sales, making phone calls. Because like I could be high as a kite, editing a video, shooting a video, all that's great. Creative juices are flowing. I'm in
Hmm.
my flow state. Calling people, cold calling, cold even messaging, man. I would get so self-conscious and I wouldn't really feel comfortable doing it and I wasn't doing it. So I had to give it up. And that's like the same thing you were talking about. It's like you get comfortable because you have your routine and today is just rinse and repeat of what I did yesterday and Friday I'm getting a check and everything's fine, barring an asteroid hitting the planet. Like I'm just gonna do the same thing tomorrow, and then Thursday and Friday I get paid. Great. Get to Monday, do it all again, and then before you know it, you're 40 years old, just like trying to reinvent yourself. So, and how old are you?
Well,
You're 32.
33.
33, yeah. It's a good age, man. I feel like you're at prime fucking age. You had to grow up fast anyway. Grow up young because had a kid when you were 19, which I think probably did a lot of good for you in a lot of ways because
Oh, yeah.
you didn't fucking drag your feet when you like in my when I was 19, 20, 21, 20. I was just partying, dragging my feet, not really working. I lost a lot of time in that time frame. I lost a lot of time where I could have been doing something more productive. But I feel like right now, man, in your early 30s, dude, this is the perfect time for you to reinvent yourself, find that passion, turn it into something.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be like, I don't know what's going to, just one day something is going to click. The right move is going to be made. The right person gets contacted, like the right LinkedIn message gets sent.
Yeah.
You make the right connection. You never know. The next conversation could be the one that changes it all.
Changes everything.
Yeah.
You
And
just
I
got to
know
actually put the messages out there.
that's it. And it doesn't, the only way it doesn't work is if you quit. So just don't
That's
quit.
not in the scope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a whole business strategy that I put together, and that's not written anywhere in there. So,
You don't have quit in there if it gets hard.
nah, I made sure I kept that one out.
Yeah.
I thought about putting it in there at the end, and I was like, that's probably
Yeah.
you gotta get rid of the safety net.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just jump full board and just keep doing one thing every day.
Yeah. It's like step 11. It's like, just quit if you still haven't made this happen yet.
And
Just fucking
yeah,
give up, dude.
no, can't do
Drive
that.
that Uber. What was it like driving Uber, man?
It's hit or miss. It could be great. It could be very scary. It really depends on
What do you mean by
who you're picking up, what time of the night it is, where you're going. I've had my fair share of interesting rides. Most of it, I'm gonna be honest. Being a people person, I actually really enjoyed it. I really
Yeah.
did. I love picking people up, and you can really get a vibe off of somebody as soon as they get in the car, whether they're going to want to talk to you or not. You ask them, "Hey, what's going on? How's your day?" And if they're just like good, then just put their head down. You're like, "All right, this guy wants to be left alone." But then you get some people, like, "Hey, how's your day going?" They're like, "Oh, it's going great. I was talking to this person today and they did that. And then, when I did that, it led me to doing this." And you're like, "Oh, okay, nice. That's awesome, man. How did that work out?" And then, you get a good vibe going. And it's always really cool, to just chit chat. Networking is the most underrated skill, I think, in the most entire world. It's just like people really undervalue, the power of communicating with people and getting to know different people in different fields and different backgrounds, and just really engulfing, surrounding yourself with knowledge by talking to as many people as possible. So it was cool to I would hear all kinds of different jobs and all kinds of different backgrounds and different adventures that people were going on. So that aspect of it was really cool. But every once in a while, somebody will get in that just doesn't sit right with you. You don't really know exactly what it is that's going on, but it's an uncomfortable feeling, and those rides, you want to end as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So.
Those ones you like adjust the rear view mirror so you can get a good
Yeah.
view of what's going on back there.
You're like, ooh, man, I have an hour and a half on this ride. I'm gonna be sweating bullets.
Yeah. Was it a lot of like airport runs and shit like that or?
Yeah, there was definitely a fair share of those going to Newark and stuff like that, back and forth. Um, but a lot of just like local trips, people going to work, just back and forth.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I feel like I'd be really good at that job. I've worked a few like retail type service jobs where I had a lot of interactions with people, like either at like a pizzeria or something like that. I used to deliver pizzas in an Audi, which was always a interesting conversation when I showed up. And then also probably stopped me from getting more tips because people would be like, "Oh, you are delivering this pizza in an Audi?"
Yeah,
I
like,
was
what's
like, "Yeah,
going
first of all, this is like a low grade Audi, and I spent all my money on it, and it's
on? No,
basically broken half the time." So I can really use your tip. Like if you give me a tip, that would be really appreciated.
yeah, it almost like backfired on you.
Yeah,
That car, that
but I
car.
love that. I love interacting with people and just talking to people. I wasn't always like that when I was younger. I was always super shy. I was like outgoing and funny with people who obviously I was comfortable with and I
Hmm.
knew family and friends, but put me in a situation where I'm like the brand new kid or something like that. Very, very shy, very self conscious. I was always like very scrawny, would get picked on a whole lot. And that wasn't like a big confidence builder, knowing that everybody can kick my ass and give me swirlies if they really wanted to. But when I got older, man, I just realized, man, I love talking to people. I love just hearing, just learning about somebody and just kind of having whatever conversation that there's no agenda to it. It's just, "Oh, what do you got going on? Oh, you do? Oh, that's cool. What the hell is that about?" Like really learning about somebody. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast was, first of all, I've been thinking about it for fucking 3 years, going
Yeah.
like, I got a spot right outside here. I'm going to fucking make the wall shiplap wood and put a fake plant there. And like,
You were
I'm
doing
going
the
to,
website building.
bro, I was building the website to
You were
nowhere.
building the website to nowhere, man. You're
bro,
stuck.
bro, I was just stuck. And also, in order to make that happen, 15 other things have to happen. I have to rip the carpet out of the spare bedroom. I have to like redo the floors. I gotta basically redo all the bedrooms upstairs just to get the shit out from down here.
Mm.
And I had a fucking moment like at the end, like in December, where I was like, "Oh, this is never gonna happen. It's never gonna fucking happen because I have to do 20 things first that I'm avoiding doing." So this podcasting that I really want to do, I don't really want to do it that bad if I'm placing all these obstacles in front of myself. So then I was just like, I don't really want to do a virtual one. I'd rather do like a sit down in person, one to one, just have a good conversation with somebody. But it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and dude, I like talking to people. I like just kind of figuring out like what's going on with you with your situation because I can guarantee you I'm struggling with some shit, and you're gonna help me figure out a piece of it. And it's like awesome. I freaking love that.
Yeah, I mean, especially, that's a good segue into, a developmental piece of becoming, who you want to be as a person, by networking and meeting people, you are who you surround yourself with, right? So you're not going to surround yourself with a better crowd or who you want to be with unless you surround yourself with those people. And in order to do that, you got to go out of your comfort zone and meet them, right? Because you're not there. You're not at that point. So if you want to be that person, you have to go out and be that person and make those contacts and really surround yourself in that mindset and be who it is that you want to be. That's like it's like those that's another that you asked me earlier, is there anything else that you're doing? That's another thing. I do. It's not just the social media posts, not just the check-ins with the family. I have a group of friends that I've recently, became friends with that, we meet up every, so often once a month or every, couple months, we'll get together. It's kind of almost like a Junto group. You ever hear of a Junto group?
No.
So it's like Ben Franklin
Some
started.
Asian shit? What is that?
No, it was Ben Franklin started it. It was something that was like kind of like a political group, but it was also like a business networking group where there's a group of people that would get together and talk, what are you learning? What's new and what did you learn about this week and stuff like that. So I have a group of friends that we get together and we kind of just talk shop, what's going on in your business? What are you doing with this? How would you do this? This is where I'm at. And, having something like that is really cool too, because, it gives you a space to open up and talk about what you got going on and get ideas from people that are doing similar stuff.
Yeah. I mean, over a certain amount of time, that just turned into being a Freemason. So I'm looking forward to 30 years from now. You're just like, yeah, I'm like Grandmaster in a Freemason fucking lodge up in Scranton or whatever. Like, I didn't realize what I was in was actually a cult. And it
Yeah,
helped me get everything I needed to get, but I did have to sacrifice my
uh,
firstborn. Um,
definitely not getting involved in anything like that. This is just a group of friends smoking some cigars and having a few drinks.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't really smoke cigars anymore because I don't smoke weed. But
Yeah, I'm actually not a big fan of cigars. I do it, and but it's just I always feel like crap the next day.
every
My
once in a
mouth
while,
feels like crap.
yeah, I'll smoke one, and I'm just like really sensitive to tobacco. My body does not like it, dude.
I
It's like,
either.
get this out of me, and I will basically just throw up. The last time I smoked a cigar, I threw up all over the place. I was
Yeah,
just sitting there
that'll happen
chilling.
sometimes.
Yeah, real relaxing. I started getting like real hot, and I'm like, oh no. I'm like, it's
Mouth watering,
happening.
like
Yeah,
you feel you're like
yeah. Like, I'll be right back. Well, I was gone for 45 minutes, just in the
Yeah,
bathroom, like shitting my pants and throwing up at the same time.
yeah, it's not
Um,
fun.
yeah, so I don't really smoke cigars too often, and I don't really drink that much anymore. But I think it's important to have a group of like-minded individuals. Like something like a mastermind group where there are people who are either entrepreneurs in your field, like they have the same kind of goal in mind. I do this a lot. I used to meet with more of them, but now it's basically boiled down to one other guy really, who's a videographer out in Houston, and we talk to each other practically every single day. We have the same
Yeah,
goal. The goal
yeah,
is to make our video businesses viable, to get clients, so we're constantly sharing tips. Hey, here's what I did today that actually led to a conversation that led to a new contract that, whatever. This guy's actually, he's coming up to Philly. He's hiring me to shoot for a few days with him in Philly. So it's just like to have somebody who's like on the same path. At times I feel like he's like a little further on the path than I am. And then at times it's like I feel like I'm a little further on the path, but we're constantly sharing ideas and information with each other where it isn't a waste of time. Because sometimes you have great ideas and you share them with your buddy because that's your buddy, but they're like, bro, they're just
like
fucking
they're
going
like,
to
cool,
work. They
man.
don't,
That's
yeah, they
all.
don't give it. There's not
Whatever.
like you're not bouncing back off them, and like
Yeah,
turn it
yeah,
into something special, But when you have people who have the same goal in mind and have the same similar like path, when you share those ideas, that sparks something because you might say something to them, they go, oh shit, like I never really thought about that. But what if you did that and you did this,
yeah.
and you go, oh, that was the missing step that I didn't even realize was missing yet.
Hmm.
And that's super important, man. That's freaking awesome. Yeah, that's a great tip is masterminds, some
For
sort of
sure.
group.
Yeah,
Would you
just
call it a judo group?
it's like a junto. I think is
Junto.
what Ben Franklin called it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a big fan of the Jews, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I mean it's definitely a cool thing to do, and I enjoy it. Just it's that check-in piece. You got to hold yourself accountable at the end of the day. You're in charge of your own destiny, and whatever it is you want to do, you have to make it happen. Whatever you got to lay in place, that you're going to make sure that you're touching base every day. Put a sticky note right on your forehead so you look in the mirror. And when you look in the mirror, you're reading it. Just whatever you have to do to make sure that you're seeing it every day and it's surrounding yourself in it and making that, this is who I am. You're going to have to, it's going to be uncomfortable because you're leaving who you were and becoming who you want to be. You're giving something. It's not, you're not giving anything up. You're giving up all the bad habits that you had. You're giving up all the comfort, that, you felt, it's a whole new thing.
The whole new world, man.
A whole new
I
world.
knew you were gonna do
I
it. Um, what else, man? What else we got going on?
don't know what's going on with you. I mean, you got the podcast, 3 years. This is exciting, man. I'm happy
It's
for you. I'm
exciting. I'm
glad,
terrified.
I'm glad you invited me on. I
Yeah,
knew we would have a good conversation though. We always have good chats.
yeah,
We're just natural people, I think. You know what I mean? People.
dude, bro. We're just two people.
Two people.
We're just two fucking cutie peoples. Um, no, man. You know what? I know everything's gonna be fine. I know everything's gonna work out this year. It's just things kind of getting off to a slow start for me this year, and that has like really kind of gave me a reality check. You know,
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys that are slow right now, and not just in my industry, but in other industries. And everybody's like, "Yeah, man, it's just like business is so slow right now for me too." So it's like, all right, it lets me know that it's not completely my doing. But like, if I'm being real with myself, there is shit that I could be doing. Like like you always feel like you could be doing more, right?
Hmm.
And you could be doing better. So when I look back at what I've done, the beginning of this year so far, yeah, I could definitely be doing more. I could be sending more messages. I could be reaching out to more people, but I am doing a lot of that. I'm having conversations. I've had a shitload of conversations. Um, sent a bunch of proposals out. I don't like sending proposals. I like to give a proposal and try to fucking lock them in right there while we're sitting there. But what's going to wind up happening is I have a couple things right now that are all going to happen next month. And
Okay.
the problem that I'm having now, like mentally, is like, fuck, what am I gonna do? Like, I got a mortgage to pay, bank's getting it's getting a little low. Like, I gotta lock some shit in, and then all of these things are gonna hit in March, and then I'm gonna be stressing out because now I have to deliver on fucking 5 different projects, like essentially all at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be freaking out about that. Um, so I need to prepare myself for that because as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, like that is going to happen. And that's a good problem to have. It's a better problem than being broke, you know?
Mhm.
But yeah, man, things are good, man. I think it's a good opportunity for me to just realize that I have to just keep showing up. You know, last year I busted my ass. It's a funny thing, man. This is the third year of my business, right? So first year of my business, uh, obviously very scary. First year, don't have another job. Like, this is it. This has to work. I did good. I replaced my salary that took me 13 years to get to in pharmaceuticals. I did it in my first year. You know, it's not like a crazy number, but it was the number that I wanted to hit because I knew that it meant that this was a viable thing.
Yeah, you were
You
able to
know?
get out.
Yeah.
You were
It
able to
wasn't,
go right
yeah,
full blown in.
exactly. Yeah. And then, but I was still smoking some weed in that first year. So there was a period of about 3 months where I didn't really do a lot of business. Like I was working on projects, but I wasn't getting a lot of new shit in.
Mhm.
And at the end of the year, when I looked back at my numbers and like where they were lining up, I was like, oh, in these months when I was just getting high all month,
There's a
I
big
didn't
dip.
do that great. So it's because I was getting high. Well, then I stopped smoking weed. And it's been over a year. I haven't smoked weed. So this past November was a year. And last year, the same thing happened. I wasn't getting high. So it was like, oh, it wasn't the smoking. No, the smoking probably didn't help, but it wasn't that. That
That
wasn't like the only
yeah.
thing. There is just a period of the year where I'm gonna have to fucking like really hustle, plant a lot of seeds leading up to that, so that way I could harvest in those
You
low
can
times.
yeah, and you can maintain those peaks through
Yeah,
those.
yeah. But both of those years, January, February, like beginning of the year for Q1 was fucking. I was slammed. I was like doing really well. I was motivated because I was like
Mm.
doing well. I had things lined up. Things were getting lined up. Like the ball was rolling. And I don't know if maybe at the end of last year I was pretty busy to where I wasn't planting enough seeds to harvest at the beginning of this year.
Mm.
And I think that's kind of what happened, right? So I have to not do that. Like the times where we get busy, we still have to be planning for what's coming next because this project's going to be done at some point, and I am going to have to get the next thing lined up. You can't wait till one thing is done to worry about the next thing.
Yeah, you got to wear
That
multi hats.
Yeah, the shit just doesn't happen fast enough. It's not like, okay, it's fucking February. Oh, now it's March. I get the new thing lined up. No, it's like, no, it's going to take a month for this person to like, oh, well, you know, I can't do Tuesday. Can we do next Thursday? No, I can't do next Thursday. Can we do the following one? Before you know it, a month has passed by. You haven't even had the fucking meeting yet.
Oh yeah.
So it's like this constant push and pull where you're trying to line shit up and then I think what has also been happening to me is I know that I'm good at what I do. I don't think I'm the best at what I do, but I know I'm pretty good. And I know that I could deliver on what I say I'm going to deliver. So it's a weird thing that this year now I'm fucking questioning myself on that. I'm like really having a lot of self doubt. And I think it's
That
just because
imposter syndrome.
well, yeah, but fucking year 3, bro. It's like,
Yeah, but
get over it.
that'll creep up on you sometimes though, without you even knowing it. Like sometimes, it happened to me when I was in management, at UPS, and, I got it. It was something that I was comfortable doing. I'd been in logistics for years and years and years, and I was in management, and it came out of nowhere. People are like, oh, when are you going to get the next bump? Or, you're so, you're great. We wish that you were this person. And, I used to be like, not know how to handle those compliments. Like, I'd be like, I don't feel like I wasn't feeling what I was doing. So that's how it's a different way of having imposter syndrome, but it can creep up on you at any point in time. It is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's humbling, to be honest with you. I've been saying something else. I've told a couple people this. Slow time is grow time for me right now. So while I'm slow, like I don't have a ton of projects lined up, like
Mhm,
I'm not busy. I'm like, it's a problem. I need to be busy. But it's like while I'm not busy, I do need to there's plenty of other shit I could be doing.
for
There's
sure.
content I could be creating for myself, like get the personal branding, like keep it going because I've been doing it. Just keep that going. Hey, I've been wanting to do that podcast thing. I've been wanting to live stream every week, like just once a week and just whatever. I did miss last week. You know,
All right. Well, listen,
kind
we
of
can't be
fucking
perfect.
got lazy a little bit, you know.
We're gonna
I'm,
have those moments.
I'm gonna miss next week because I'm gonna be in Disney World eating pancakes with Goofy. You know,
That's gonna be exciting though.
it's
That's
gonna be
gonna be a lot of
so
fun.
dope. Yeah, it's gonna be great,
We
man.
took we took my son for his 10th birthday, and it was it was a good time. It's a lot of fun. You forget how much fun it is, especially when you haven't been there since I haven't been to Disney World since I was a kid. You know what I mean? So when I got to take him, it was like this is awesome. Watching their faces light up and the joy. That place is unreal.
Yeah, yeah. Fucking lots of. I'm not even gonna say what I'm thinking, but yeah, it's a joyful place.
I mean,
that
it is definitely a lot.
like I'm not trying to like be a fucking a grumpy about this.
No, no.
The one thing I'm not looking forward to, and I'm just gonna be straight up here. We're far enough into this podcast that nobody's making it this far. They're never gonna hear this, okay? I'm not looking forward to walking around. I'm gonna probably do 40,000 steps a day because I'm gonna be walking around everywhere. I'm not excited about the fats. I'm not excited about the fat people. I know there's a lot, for whatever reason, a lot of fat people at Disney World, and I am not excited about having to walk around a bunch of
Uh,
slow fat people.
yeah,
I
I get that.
realize something when I'm at an amusement park, I get so fucking frustrated so quickly because it's like, hey, I know where I'm going. Like I need to get to that ride. We know we're going to that ride,
Yeah,
and I got 400 fucking people in front of me that are just like,
standing there.
oh, look at the pterodactyls, look at the mountains, everything. And it's just like, yeah, maybe I should be more like them because they're enjoying the moment and they're taking it in.
They're being present.
Yeah, they're
We're
being
just
present in the
running.
moment. You know what? Fucking hey, man, I'm a problem for myself. I need to cut it out, dude. But I've
Yeah,
been
dude.
thinking about that because I get so frustrated so easily, and it's just like when people are at like in public in general, but especially amusement parks for whatever reason, they're just like in their own fucking world. And when you
Yeah,
get, and it's fine if they're like respectful of space and like shit like that, but you tend to get a lot of these people who, like they're not respectful of like kids being around or like, so like they're flying off at the mouth. You got like some young kids that are cursing, like there's always some random group of fucking goth kids smoking weed behind the roller coaster. Like nobody could smell them. You know what I'm saying? I got my fucking 10-year-old kid. Yeah, I got my 10-year-old kid there. I'm looking right at you. Like everybody can smell you. Like I could
what's
smell
going
it.
on, bro?
I know what that smells like.
Whiff.
But and you just got people who don't respect space. They start cutting in line. Now I gotta fucking decide: am I gonna say something because I'm a tough guy, or am I
Right.
just
I see.
not because
I'm
I'm a
so far
bitch?
removed from that. I literally just let people do with that. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, just cut the line, dude. Not worth my time.
Yeah, it's funny because my wife will get like pretty worked up, and then like when her level raises up, mine actually goes down. Like
Yeah,
we always wind up like evening each other out a little bit. There's hardly ever a time where we're both like you know
that's good though.
rapidly going up. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You should want to balance. Somebody's got to. If I'm doing 80, you got to do the 20, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
that's
But
that's a good dynamic.
when she's up and I'm just like, nah, it's cool, whatever. Like, nah, just let him cut. And she's like, yo, my husband will fuck you up. And
And
I'm
then you're
like, yo, do you realize there's 5 of these guys?
like,
Like,
and me,
and I'm not a good
and our
fighter.
and our 10-year-old.
Yeah, and our 10-year-old. So like, here's the other problem is like, I tell her this all the time. Like when we're out in public, I'm usually carrying some sort of weapon on me just because I'm not a
Yeah,
good
bro.
fighter. No, you never know. But like I tell her, like, hey, if some shit pops off here, your fucking job is to grab the kid and
Go.
get the fuck out of this situation.
Go. Leave me
Don't
here. Let me get
don't
stomped out.
try. Yeah, exactly. Don't try
Let
like
me get
holding
stomped
me
out.
back or grabbing
Jumping
my
in.
hand. Yeah, don't hold my hand, especially. That fucking drives me nuts. Because now you're gripping my hand and I can't defend myself while I'm
Exactly. Yeah.
getting pummeled in the face by this guy. You know, it's just like you're I swear to God, if I get my ass kicked because you were like holding my arm or something like that,
I'd be
like
double pissed
we're done. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm moving out. Like I can't go down like that. Let me get my ass kicked because I
because you got
just
the safety at least.
yeah, because you're safe, and then I just got a weak chin. You know, like let that
That's
be the reason. Don't let it be because you were holding my hand. Because now I got to always wonder, would I have not got my ass
What if I
kicked?
had both my hands,
Yeah,
man? I could have
exactly.
been
Yeah,
blocking. I could have been all kinds of been.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would have did the juke. I would have fucking. I watched too much UFC
Right.
to really make it out alive in any kind of situation because I've built up this false
False
understanding that I
persona.
know how
Yeah.
to fight.
Yeah, dude, you really do think that, when you watch so much of it, you're like, I can kind of do that, but you don't actually know the techniques
Nah,
to actually get into it. But there's people out there that do. And that's
yeah,
why I just avoid altercation as much as possible. I
this is a
really
good
do. It's
point.
not worth it. It really is not. You don't know who knows what anymore. You just avoid it, man, because this guy might be a black belt in some jujitsu. He's
You got
gonna
to look
choke
for
you
the
out.
ears, right? You look for the
Yeah, look for
ears.
the cauliflower ear. Watch out for the wrestlers, man. They'll drop you on your head real quick.
There's nerds out there killing people, bro. They
Yeah,
will yoke you up so quick, embarrass you in front of your family, send you packing.
yeah, that's
I'm
it.
too old for that shit, bro.
Me
Like I'm
too.
not. I'm
Yeah, I'm
not
so
really.
far removed from that. Like I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it would take a lot for
Yeah,
me to get into an
you would
altercation.
have to actually hit me first. Like I would need to 100% be hit first.
Yeah, you might
That's
have
the
to like slap my wife and my kid,
both of them. Not even
both
just
of
one.
them. I
Both of them.
you'd have to slap.
One I could accept. One I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, you know what? All right, I
yeah.
understood that one.
I'm
Both.
assess like one. You slap my wife, I'm assessing the situation still. And then you slap my kid, I'm like, ah, God, now I got to do something. Nobody slaps my kid but me, you
It's
know.
unfortunate that this is an hour and 47 innings. This is some good stuff right here.
I'll mark it. We'll clip this part. What'll be funny is like this will be the first clip I share, and then it'll be an hour and 40 minutes of just like, you got to do the right, you got to check the boxes and do what it takes to be successful. And then they're gonna fucking phase out. They always.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna phase out of that so quick, and this is where the real meat and potatoes is. You know what that means? That just means that down the line when this is successful and you're 400 episodes in, it'll be my second appearance on the show, and we could have a nice
Yeah, we
laugh
can.
track.
Yeah, we can know that at 3 hours it's gonna get watched. You know what I'm saying? That's when it starts getting good.
Just start recording it
Yeah,
3 hours in.
yeah, exactly. It's like we've been doing this the whole time. Like, no, that was warm up, dude. You think I want to hear about how great your business has been going? Fuck
Yeah, I don't
that.
want.
That's boring, dude.
Well, let's not talk about fighting at fighting at Dorney Park,
What was the last fight you got into? Do you remember? Like a
dude.
fist fight?
The last one I couldn't even tell you. High school. I mean, my friends have gotten into a lot of altercations post high school, but I just somehow got very lucky that I was never involved in said altercations. I always found myself, at the right place. They were in the wrong place, wrong time. I was in the right place at the right time, just not there getting beat up. So yeah, it's been a really long time.
Yeah. When I lived in Florida, I was what was that? I was like 24, 23, 24, something like that. I lived there for a year. I got into so many fights. I'm not a fighter, dude. I'm not a. It was a lot of liquid courage involved for sure.
Yeah. Oh, usually.
It was something about it, bro. They could tell that we were from up north,
They
and they
like it.
smelled it. It was like blood in the water, and it would just seek me out, man. And it usually went something like this. I lived down there with like a group of buddies, and some of us were going to school, and some of us were just living, down there. Um, we would go out to like downtown Orlando. We'd go to there was a bar. I forget what the bar was called, but it was like 3 or 4 levels, and then it had a rooftop bar. It was dope, a really dope
Yeah,
spot.
those are always
Eat
sick.
Yeah, each level was like a different vibe. It was like rock band, cover band on the first level, club on the second level, rooftop was just like chilling, whatever. And this is back in my single days, before I was an honest man. So we would always be out prowling, right? And that's when you, as a man, as a guy, especially as a young man, that's when you're getting into trouble. Is when you're
Yeah.
prowling. You got two goals for tonight, maybe three goals. It's like I need to get drunk, I need to get high, I need to get wet, bro. Like we need to find some women. Like how are we
Yeah.
doing this? And so it would usually go something like this. We would never get any girls because we whatever for whatever reason it was just like it wasn't as easy as it was up here. I don't know what the
Yeah.
fuck it was. But we would always get into fights, and it would be one of my buddies would be drunk, would be hitting on a girl. Her boyfriend would fucking come through the crowd and be like, "Yo, that's my girl you're trying to dance with." And then I would see it from across the club or across the bar, and then be like, "Oh shit, Andy's about to get his ass kicked by this guy. I better go over there and like diffuse the situation." And then
Mm.
here I come, drunk, probably not aware of my tone, like, and then I would wind up getting into a fight with the guy, and Andy wouldn't even get into a fight. Andy was the one who was pinching the girl's ass, and I'm the one fighting.
You're getting
And
beat up.
there was more than one time where I never got like really like got my ass kicked in that.
Yeah.
I've gotten my ass kicked, but never in that time frame. But I would get like, I would get into a fight. I'd get hit a couple times. I'd hit them, whatever. But usually would come out like luckily would not get like real hurt.
Yeah.
But I remember one time I would be blackout fucking drunk. And also I'm the one driving from downtown Orlando. Now drunk, just got into a fight, running from the fucking security, running from the cops, driving down I-4 at 100 miles an hour with all my friends in the car. Like
Yeah.
it was a
No.
bad situation. Like there was plenty of times where we probably should have fucking died because I'm driving super fast, very, very drunk and angry. So those
Not a good
combinations,
recipe.
not a good recipe. And then I remember one time I woke up the next morning. I was like, fuck, dude, my ear is killing me. And I go in to like, take a piss and brush my teeth and like just wash my face off. And I'm like, what the fuck? And my ear is just covered in blood. And like the side of my face is fucked up. Like I clearly got
What
like
happened?
fucking dumped on.
The curb stomps.
Andy was hitting on some dude's girl. I went in there and said, listen, I'm like, listen, man, he doesn't mean it. He didn't know it was your girl, whatever. And then the guy basically was just like, dude, I'll fuck you up too. And now, because I got the liquid courage, I'm like, all right, I guess we're fighting. And then we would start fighting. And I'd hit him, he'd hit me, whatever. But that night, I didn't remember until I woke up. And I come out into the living room. And I'm like, yo, why is this whole side of my face fucked
What's
up?
happening?
They're like, oh, you don't remember what happened? I'm like, no, what happened? And then they would tell me what happened. Like, oh shit, I do remember that. I remember flashes of that happening.
Yeah, like browning out.
Yeah, yeah. So there was a bunch of times I got into like 5 or 6 fights down there. That's more than all the fights put together in my life. I got into more fights down in Florida. And very, very interesting dynamic down there.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was a point in time where, my early 20s, they weren't like, speaking of fights, like I was talking about like real fights, but there was a point in my time when my early 20s where me and my buddies would just box for no reason. Just box the shit out of each other. Bare knuckles. Just beating the hell out of each other. We called it Brawl Fridays or whatever it was, but you just beat the shit out of each other. But it was just for no reason. Just, I mean, guys being guys, trying to keep up with your masculinity and, I'm macho, I could kick somebody's ass if I want, but, as we get older, at least, this gets so far removed from that and your mind starts changing and, you see, UFC wasn't as big as it was, as it is now, you know what I mean? When we were kids growing up, that was not even really a thing. Now, everybody's mom is doing it. You're getting beat up by a mom on the sidewalk because she knows, jujitsu and boxing, and you don't know anything.
Yeah.
It is like,
She's
what is
a purple
happening?
belt.
Yeah, you're like,
so...
what is happening? So I just, stay away from it altogether. As much as, I mean, like I said, unless I absolutely have to be confrontational, I'm very good at de-escalating situations usually, because, I do have a lot of hothead friends that do get fired up and find ourselves in a lot of situations that we shouldn't be in. So it's like, okay, we got to
Yeah.
de-escalate this somehow. So I'm
You know,
usually that guy.
I just don't go out anymore.
I really, that's another thing. I don't really drink ever, unless it's for the sole purpose of like, I'm planning to
Yeah.
drink on this day
Yeah.
because I planned it.
Yep.
I don't drink. I never have alcohol in my house. It's just not for me. I don't enjoy it anymore, unless it's for a social gathering, weddings, big parties. Then I'll let a little piece of me out of the cage and be like, let's have a good time. But those are far and few between.
Yeah. Well, eventually we'll. Thought I heard a door open. Was that your
I think that might
house?
have been in my house. Yeah.
Yeah. It's your wife's. Like, dude, you said this was an hour. What the hell? It's going
She
on
already,
2 hours.
she literally came in over in the corner before. It was like holding the baby, like smiling at me. And I was like, yeah, it's been 2 hours now.
Yeah, we still got a baby. I kind of want a break.
Yeah.
Well, we could end it there, man. We're almost at 2 hours, dude. I love talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, man, I said it before, and I'm going to say it here at the end because I know nobody's going to listen to it, and it'll just be me and you. I'm proud of you, man. I'm really, really super proud of you. And I can't wait to see, this thing just progress further and further for you to the point where it's like, this is it. I'm all in on this thing, and it's becoming something I didn't even realize it was going to become. And it's fucking awesome. And if there's anything I could do to help, you just let me know. You say the word, I'll do whatever I can.
This right here is a huge help, man, because somewhere down the line this podcast is going to blow up and this episode is going to get a lot more views than you think it is.
I don't
You
know,
just wait,
dude.
buddy.
Nobody, this ain't.
Listen, I'm gonna, just like you're proud of me, I'm proud of you, man. I love seeing what you're doing. I love watching your posts and your engagement. So it's right back at you. I knew this was going to be a very easy conversation, and I'm actually not surprised that we went 2 hours. I'm really not.
Yeah.
I know that whenever we get together, it's always easy to kind of talk and, just spit the gab. It's so easy with us. So I'm really thankful that you had me on the show, and I appreciate it. And, it's been a great time. I can't wait for the next time.
Yeah. Next time when I say welcome back, hopefully we'll have an audience, and we'll catch up, man. We'll do the same thing again. We'll preload it with the funny shit, and then we'll cry at the end.
Yeah, then we'll get into the business talk.
Freaking awesome, man. Thank you for spending your time with me, and that's it. It's over.
I'll see.
Where can people find you? Where can they find you? Is there anything you want to promote or?
I'm in the process of building the socials and stuff like that. Get Swing IQ, is the Instagram. Swing IQ on Facebook, and it's pretty much Get Swing IQ everywhere across. GetSwingIQ.com, Get Swing IQ, Instagram.
All right, cool, man.
YouTube.
All right. Well, nobody's going to see this part anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Maybe like
right,
seven years from now.
Yeah, it's 7 years from now.
There goes SwingIQ.com. Like, oh shit, still not a website. What the fuck is up with that?
He's stuck in the website builder. All right, brother. You enjoy the rest of your night, man. I had a blast. Peace.
Have a good night, man.